think about the organizational learning as a product, and how do you optimize that as you move forward?
I think, we've said it a few times, and I've said it in our quarterly investor updates. So we're always transparent, having our investors interact with our team members and stuff like that. I think that the amount of BS on earnings reports has just, I mean, it's always been BS, but it is through the roof because like CEOs and companies are in existential crisis.
Completely.
Like whenever you're losing 100 billion in value, like ServiceNow did,
Mhm.
in less than 6 months. And you don't know in the next 6 months what the hell is going to happen. It is creating the wrong direction. There is no vulnerability, there is no honesty, and they're doubling down on the BS. I'm not specifically calling out ServiceNow because I think it's one of the very, very well run and grown companies, but that conversation of being transparent and vulnerable is not normal in publicly traded companies, and we are very transparent, communicate out. And I always say, like, end of the day, you're betting on the leadership to guide the future of the company. But in my opinion, it is actually the operational team members who are on the front lines experiencing what the hell is happening to be able to give a feedback loop. And I always look at it as kind of like an inversion function where it's like, so much of you are right, where here's the mountain, go to the top of it, and like the military operation will go up and figure out how to get there. On the flip side, there's a disconnect typically, especially as larger organizations get larger, between the senior leaders and what the hell is actually going on the ground. And I will give huge props to a lot of the leadership here. We have this concept called team lead as opposed to manager. And it's true because, whether it's Jordan writing on the whiteboard of who are the 22 interns that are going to be coming up, it's not, hey, we've got manager, a manager of managers. And there's this disconnect of reality. We have team leads that are actually in the weeds operationally that actually know what's going on and are interacting with that function. But how do we prevent this distortion reality because of fear that, hey, we need to be the best, and so we need to position ourselves to the marketplace as though we're perfect and we figured it all out. And at the same time, as you see, you just look a little bit under the cover and you're like, oh, this is a disaster here. And AI is a complete BS term, like you said. My buddy, I won't call his name out because he's one of the senior executives at Microsoft. He's like, "Hey, did you see this company? They bought 200,000 licenses." And I asked him, I think you guys were here. I said, "How many people are using it?" Well, this morning, like 70% of the company was using it. I was like, okay, okay. Show me how many people have used it more than 1 hour. And then it was like 0.00001%. And that's the reality. The reality is the endpoint because there's such a big gap between the BS that company and leaderships are speaking and the reality at the ground floor. As kind of the final question before I open up to everybody else is, how do you squash that function where it's not, well, JP's on stage talking about all this cool stuff. And day to day, I'm being judged on the operational shit that I got to get done because that's what I'm being held accountable for. How do you bridge that gap with this technology that's, here?
Yeah. Um, it's having that reality check of where are we really? Like, really, where are things? Because you mentioned the distortion field, like, as it goes up the chain, it becomes cleaner, three-point bullets, like, it loses the context and nuance that's really going on. Um, it's having, open feedback loops where, the leadership and the kind of the atomic unit of change, the manager team unit is, they're straddling for the management level. They're straddling this, this vision with the reality in this two worlds of how we've always done it and then how we're trying to do it moving forward. So they're in a very unsupported phase, but um, having a clear understanding and acceptance of this is where we really are based on the marketplace, based on who we are, and then what does success look like that we can move towards. and having everybody, bought into, if we can move a bit forward, then that is success, and then we can all feel good about what we're doing. Um, Oftentimes, in most of the work that I've done, uh, leaders are very resistant to exposure by that kind of activity of the assessment. I call it a diagnostic. I can use different words, but basically, we got to figure out what's going on, the discovery phase. But they don't want to be exposed of not having uh, all the all the ideas themselves. So, um, what happens after that is, we have to move towards something where we can start to learn and teach each other. Um, how do we squash it? It's just that you already mentioned the learning loops or the loops. Um, that's the idea. It's just to have think about the organizational learning as a product, and how do you optimize that as you move forward?